You understand now why you kept ending up in the same room. But here's what nobody tells you about the morning after that realization. Every signal makes you wonder, is this my gut or is this the wound again? How do I know the difference? The good news is that you're not alone. That question has been asked before, many times, by people who found their way through it. Welcome back to God is My Guru. As we noticed in the last episode, Jehoshaphat was not aware of the wound that kept attracting the wrong people. But something shifts in him after that. The next time the threat comes and comes big, he doesn't go looking for allies. He doesn't consult his generals or look for someone to tell him what to do. This time he pulls up a chair and talks to God directly. Not through a priest, not through a prophet, just him and God in the same room. That's not a small thing for a man who spent years looking for the right alliance, the right person, the right backing. That's a man who finally stopped filling the gap with other people's answers. He calls out to God, reasoning with him, almost presenting a covenant lawsuit. Are you not the God who drove out the people of this land and gave it to Abraham's descendants? Didn't we build this sanctuary for your name? Didn't you tell us not to attack Edom, Moab, and Ammon, and we obeyed? We left them alone because you told us to. And now they're here, trying to take what you gave us. He's holding God to his own words, laying out everything he knows, the history, the promises, the apparent contradiction. And then he arrives at the most honest conclusion available. We do not know what to do, but our eyes are on you. He doesn't try to put on a performance or make himself sound more faithful than he feels, admitting that he feels helpless, just the honest truth. That's what talking to God actually looks like, this. The territory that was taken from you belongs to you, not to the system that shaped you, not to the people who trained you to make yourself smaller, not to the angry person whose reaction you have been managing your whole life. It belongs to you. And taking it back is not one dramatic moment. It's a series of small ones. Start with no. You don't need to justify it. You don't need a good enough reason or a prepared defense. Just no, that's not for me. Notice what happens after you say it. The pull to explain, to soften it, to make sure they're not upset. To add, but maybe next time so nobody gets hurt. That pull, that is the old training still running. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your own boundary. If angry people makes you freeze, practice not reacting. Some people need arguments to feel alive, so they throw out a hook and wait for you to take it. You don't have to. You don't have to meet their energy. You don't have to calm them down. You don't have to fix what their anger is actually about. And here's something that happens as the wound heals. The hook loses its power. What used to pull you in automatically starts to just pass by. They didn't change. You did. And then there is the other kind, the ones who don't get angry. They collapse. Look what you did to me. Look how much I am suffering. Look how hard this is for me. A different hook, same trap. Because if you were trained to be responsible for other people's feelings, their pain pulls you back just as effectively as their anger pushed you. You don't have to fix that either. Their suffering in response to your no is not evidence that your no was wrong. And then there is the silence. No argument, no visible suffering, just withdrawal, the cold shoulder, the room that suddenly has no air in it. And the trained response is to chase it, to apologize, to retrace every step trying to find what you did wrong so you can fix it and make it warm again. That is also a hook. You don't have to chase the silence either. If someone used physical force to take your sense of safety, go and take it back. A boxing class, Aikido, something that puts the strength back in your own body, because it belongs to you, not them. And we saw what performing for others did to Saul. Stand by your signal, your word, your opinion. even when, and especially when, it is not what the room expects of you. As the wound starts to heal, something unexpected will happen. You start seeing it everywhere. The colleague who always needs to be the victim, the friend who collapses every time you set a boundary, and the family member who has been running the same pattern for 40 years and cannot see it. And the first instinct is to help, to show them, to hand them what you found, because you know what it cost you, and you don't want them to keep paying it. But you cannot walk someone else's step for them. Everyone who heals, heals at their own pace, in their own time, through their own reckoning. You can be present, you can be honest, but you cannot do it for them. And trying to, that is also an old pattern worth noticing. But remember this, your no might be exactly the lesson someone else needs to take their next step. Which brings us back to Joash, Jehoshaphat's grandchild, born into the consequences of an alliance that should never have been made, raised in hiding, becoming king at 7 and handed an entire identity by one man, Jehoiada the priest, who taught him everything he knew. And while Jehoiada lived, Joash walked faithfully. Then Jehoiada died, and the rug was pulled under his feet. And the nobles, the ones who never wanted to rebuild the temple, came to see him with their own agenda and flattered Joash, and he listened. The idols came back. The biblical writer doesn't say Joash was faithful all his life. He says, all the days of Jehoiada. A whole life summarized in 5 words by someone else's presence. If you set your mood according to other people's opinions of you, you go up when they think you are great and down when they don't. Joash never had a signal of his own to stand on. So when the flattering people arrived, he had nothing to push back with. And you will meet these people, the ones who always seem warm, always seems to be on your side, and always seems to know exactly what you need to hear. This is where your gut feeling comes in. Not the trained one, the real one. The one that says something is slightly off here. Listen to it. So how do you actually move forward? One step at a time. It's not a catastrophe. Every step you took while wounded, you took with what you had. That is not something to undo. That is something to learn from. Because now you can see what it was telling you. And that is information you didn't have before. The terror of making another mistake is actually the compass beginning to work. A broken compass wouldn't worry about direction. And in all of it, you're not doing this alone. Not because there's a system waiting for you. Not because there's a building you need to walk back into. But because God is not sitting at a distance waiting for you to get it right before He engages. Make Him your best friend, the one you talk to about everything, as if He's sitting right next to you. Not the performed prayer, not the carefully chosen words, not the approved script. Just, I don't know how to handle this. I'm giving it to you. Thank you for helping me. That's it. Shame and guilt is not God. That voice that tells you that you are too broken, too far gone, too complicated to be helped, that's not Him. Being humble is not a character flaw, it is building strength. And God does not want you to feel like He is the only one who can do things for you. He wants you to figure it out, to grow, to stand on your own signal. He gives small signs when you're on the right path, not always loud ones. Sometimes just a door that opens at the right moment, a person who shows up when you needed exactly that, a feeling of quiet that arrives after you asked. Learn to recognize those. That is the conversation beginning. I know this from experience. There was a time I needed a place to live. I had an offer from someone with a bad reputation. I hadn't talked to God in years, so I started there. I apologized for the silence, and then I admitted I had a problem. And then I told him I was tired of paying rent. In my mind, I was already imagining winning the lottery so I could buy my own apartment. 5 minutes later, a friend knocked on my door. He had a friend who needed a babysitter, someone to live on one of the floors of her house. The rent would be paid by taking the baby out for walks 2 hours every morning. It was not what I expected, but it was better. That is how he works, not always through the door you were staring at, sometimes through the one you didn't know was there. You're not the same person you were at the beginning of this series. You can see the wound now. You can name the hooks. You're learning to stand by your own signal. And what feels too heavy to hold, you can hand it over. In a private conversation, just you and him. Start there. One step, one honest sentence, and one moment of, I don't know what to do with this, so I'm giving it to you. That's enough. But maybe there's still one question underneath all of it. The one that doesn't go away even when everything else starts to make sense. How do I actually learn to trust again? That's exactly where we're going to go next. I'll see you there.